Three, two, one.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Fantasy Football Happy Hour podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's, first off, welcome back. We did miss last week, but welcome back to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour podcast. As we do each and every week, we take a look at a little bit of the news and notes. We take a preview of Thursday night football. We're going to drop down with Matt's game of the week, drop in some fantasy football start and sit knowledge on you. I'm going to finish it off with some bets of the week. And then, of course, if you stick around for the movie corner, that will be around for you as well. As always, I am joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Matthew Fox. How are you, sir?
You know, every time I hear that opening, I think, my God, they were not kidding. They really aged up the stars for season 5 of Stranger Things.
Hey, look, I don't know. I've met Finn Wolfhard, so I feel like I can play the older version of him now. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'll just play 30 years in the future. You know what I mean? Like, and you could play like David Harbour. You know what I mean? Like,
that would be aging down. Don't do that to me.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty sure David Harbour's like 50.
Oh, my bad. Well,
I guess it's been a rough 2 weeks for me.
Man, shit. All right. So, fun thing was, obviously, most of you, we talked about it on the show. I did go out to LA for the AFI Film Festival, which we'll talk about in a little while when we get to the movie corner. But Mr. Fox and I got to meet for the first time while I was out there because he was in the midst of a little vacation and still is on a little vacation excursion right now. So that was exciting to kind of, after, I don't know, we've known each other for about 4 years or so now. We've been podcasting together pretty regularly for about 2 seasons now. So that was really cool. And yeah, so with that being said, we are going to dive right into my favorite news and notes segment of the year already. Fireworks sound there was the perfect segue because finally the Colts made the correct decision and fired Frank Reich. Now, I won't go any further in saying that they did anything else smart because
I was going to say they made a right decision.
They made a good decision in firing Frank Reich. Now, his replacement, we'll talk about that in a second, but it's not surprising that Frank Reich was fired. They've had 17 different quarterbacks come and go. I personally feel like he's tried to pin it on the quarterback every year by making it a reoccurring, Phil Rivers, Carson Wentz, and then you trade in, you get rid of Wentz, say he was the problem, and then you bring Matt Ryan in, who was just absolutely abysmal in that offense. And his refusal to make Jonathan Taylor a workhorse was something that was very confusing to me because there's some weeks I felt like he got that point, and then there's other weeks where it was like, let's throw Carson Wentz 50 balls this week, or hey, let's have Matt Ryan throw 50 balls this week. And I know Taylor's been in and out with injuries, but still, like, you're asking like a 90-year-old quarterback here to throw the ball, who hasn't been actually great the last couple of years. He's been okay. Like, there's been games where he's okay, but you're not relying on the strengths of your offense. And instead of playing musical chairs, you never really upgraded the wide receiver position. You never really upgraded the tight end position. You didn't really set your quarterbacks up for success. And, Frank Reich had to go. You know what I mean? Would I have replaced him with a center that has no coaching experience? Probably not. But, it's not Frank Reich anymore. So, Fox, what do you think here?
Well, so you mentioned the roster. That's not all Frank Reich, and that's why I think he's one half of the equation. Chris Ballard, to me, has got to go. It's amazing. The Colts went from 5 years ago, had Andrew Luck not retired. A lot of us thought they were going to be competing for a Super Bowl to, I don't even know what they're doing right now. And you went out and acquired Matt Ryan. You paid Nick Foles as a backup, and yet you decided to throw Sam Ehlinger out there to get 125 total yards last week. And I guess I sort of get making the move now, but they were 3-3-1 when they decided to pull Matt Ryan for Sam Ehlinger. I didn't think they were out of the playoff hunt yet, even though they hadn't played well and they got swept by the Titans. But now I think they're kind of well out of it, and I don't really know what the future is for Indianapolis. I don't think there's a quick road back.
No, because it's Yeah, I mean, and if you look at it, I mean, what did they give up for Ryan? I forget already. I mean,
It was just a third round pick. It wasn't a whole lot. Atlanta mostly wanted to do it as a salary dump, but that's where I think Ryan actually has a couple years on his contract. Is he going to retire? Is he just going to make them eat the money? I don't know.
I'd make him eat the money just because.
There's a whole group. So we've talked about the ongoing quarterback issue, which is a real thing. The draft wasn't going to solve it for everyone. Now I think it's realistic to think that Tom Brady might retire. It's getting more realistic to think that Rodgers or Stafford might retire. And Matt Ryan, I mean, you could have a whole slew of veteran quarterbacks going out too. There is not enough to replace behind what's potentially gone.
Yeah, and this class is pretty solid. Like, I don't know when we're going to do it, probably towards the end of the year, but I literally went through, division or team by team by team, just looking at the future of their quarterback position. And when I did, I came up with, a solid 8 teams that will be looking at new quarterbacks. And then you have a couple of other teams that might want to add some pieces just in case X, Y, and Z happens. But it's also going to be, the more I look at it, it's more likely the Seahawks might run Geno back next year because of how good he is.
I think Geno's getting a multi-year deal.
And then of course you have, I think, and I talked about the Lions, but depending on where they fall in that draft order, you could rely on Goff for another year. It's going to make teams that might want to pull the plug, but can't because what's out there might not be as good as what you got. You know what I mean? And that's the big one. You know what I mean? Like, and that'll be interesting to see because there's some divisions that are locked in. You know what I mean? Like the AFC West could be top to bottom, have quarterbacks next year. You know what I mean? And then of course the North is another division that has pretty much locked in. The East is pretty much like the AFC. Three division teams, 3 conferences in the AFC might be pretty much locked in, but then you have so many other teams that are questionable too. It's a lot of these older guys probably gone. But then you have a thing like the NFC South where the entire division could have a turnover in quarterback next year. You know what I mean? Like everybody in the South could have a new quarterback next year, and it wouldn't surprise me. But it'll be interesting to see and see what kind of happens over the next couple of weeks. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the best game ever that's going to happen tonight. We have the Atlanta.
That sound was all the viewers blowing away from watching this shit show.
Yeah, exactly. Atlanta Falcons versus the Carolina Panthers this week. The Falcons are 4-5 on the year, which is hilarious because you got a team that is being competitive, and I like what they're doing because Marcus Mariota doesn't look terrible, and he's making me prove a point that I'm glad he got a second chance. But at the same time, this is a team that might not be as good as their record, and also a team that's really just kind of throwing a wrench in, having one of those top 10 picks next year. You know what I'm saying? So it's like middle of the pack, pick next year that they're going to have. So it's hard to kind of upgrade. I also feel like they have the worst offensive coordinator in the entire world. Arthur Smith was a terrible offensive coordinator whenever he was with the Tennessee Titans. And he's not very good now, which isn't very shocking to me because there's some reason you have Kyle Pitts and Drake London and you're not getting the ball more. Blows my mind. They also have a stout run game. But this game to me, I don't even know. I probably not even going to watch it if I'm going to be honest with you. I probably won't watch it just because I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like anybody on either of these teams outside of maybe Patterson and Foreman. You know what I mean? Like, or DJ Moore, obviously. Like, that's just that's a no-brainer for me, I guess. But the rest of these guys, like London, he's up and down. Pitts, like, is he even a tight end? Like, what is he, just an offensive lineman now? Like, I don't understand what they're doing with him. I think it's terrible coaching. I think Arthur will probably get one more year, but I think he's going to be gone after next year or mid-year next year. Falcons are kind of conservative in some ways, but I don't know, man. What do you think about tonight's game? What do you think about the possibility of Baker Mayfield? Is Baker playing tonight or PJ playing tonight?
No, Steve Wilkes must have DJ Moore on his fantasy team because he realized that Baker Mayfield will throw to anyone but DJ Moore. So PJ Walker is getting the start again this week, even though
Baker
Baker
looks
came
pretty
in.
good in relief, though. You know,
But he never throws to DJ Moore. He didn't when he was a starter. He didn't when he came in. PJ Walker is the only one that's really thrown to DJ Moore. It's weird. Carolina should be trying to lose, so that sort of makes sense to me. This game, from a fantasy perspective, Mariota is a low-end QB2 option for me, especially given the QB landscape this week. If you looked around, I actually might roll him out unless you have two other rock-solid options, because there are a lot of guys that could potentially be out before Sunday. You don't want the Rams back up. I'm not sure I'm rolling Case Keenum. If Josh Allen misses, Kyler Murray could be out. I don't want any piece of freaking Arizona if that happens. So, in Superflex leagues, Marcus Mariota should be playing in your lineup tonight. Cordero Patterson's is running back too for me. Tyler Algier is not a bad flex shot. He seems to actually have improved his efficiency with Patterson coming back. They want to run. I think they're going to be able to run. DJ Moore is a YOLO pick again. He's got great talent, but their offense is a hot mess. Deonta Foreman's more of a flex play for me. I'm just really not wild about playing. And that's how I feel about London and Pitts. Those guys could get a touchdown. They could get something. But you're talking about Thursday night. Do you want to roll the dice on a Thursday night with these guys in this game? Would it surprise anyone if this was like a 12-9 game? We've seen those on Thursday Night Football before.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you mentioned the key thing. You know what I mean? Stafford could be out. What if Stafford's out? What if Josh
I don't want
Allen's
Sean
out?
Blanton. I don't want Case Keenum.
Well,
I don't want Colt
Case
McCoy.
Keenum might be a better option than some of these.
Well,
other
Case
guys
Keenum
weapons,
would be the best among those backup
yeah, but
options.
like even with that said, I mean, maybe you're without Lamar this week because of the bye week. Joe Burrow's out because of the bye week. So if you're struggling, I would be hitting the wire right now, especially if Case Keenum's available. I'm picking him up just to spite the Josh Allen owner to begin with. That's the first thing I'm doing. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a Josh Allen guy. I have him in my biggest leagues that I'm in. I ran out and picked up Case Keenum because I'm gonna have to start him this week. I don't have much of a choice. So Case Keenum or Josh Allen, one of them starting. I don't really care which one it is, but whoever's starting at quarterback's gonna be starting on my roster this week. So I don't know.
I am picking the Falcons, by the way.
I am also picking the Falcons, which will be at 5-5 then, and right in the hunt for nothing. So
division leader.
That's embarrassing to say. All right, let's transition to Matt's games of the week.
We have a lineup this week. There are some good games. There are some games. There is a international game, Germany, Tampa Bay, and Seattle going over there. Who would have thought that would both be teams that go into the week as division leaders? And Tampa Bay, the lesser of the division leaders. But my Sunday early game of the week, 7-1 Minnesota Vikings at the 6-2 Buffalo Bills. It would be a bummer if Josh Allen can't play. It seems like it's now tracking more that way. I still think the Bills win, but it's a stout test for the Vikings, who actually have the second best record in the NFL right now, not just the NFC. The NFL. Yes, you heard that correctly. 2022, go home. You are drunk. The Sunday late window game. This is a loser is out of the race game, in my opinion. It's the 3-6 Arizona Cardinals at the 3-5 Los Angeles Rams. Kyler Murray's banged up, may not be able to play. Matthew Stafford's in concussion protocol, may not be able to play. I feel like that's fitting to our 2022 situation. Still, these teams are both chasing the 49ers and the Seahawks atop their division. And even though the NFC is somewhat of a crapshoot, whichever one of these teams loses is going to be in last place in the division. They'll have little to no shot in the division. And they'll be chasing so many other NFC teams. I really think this could be the end. And honestly, if the Cardinals lose, which I think the Rams probably pull this out, it could be the end of Cliff Kingsbury. He's a guy I wouldn't be shocked if they moved on him during the season. He got a 5-year contract extension, which actually kicks in next season. So he could end up getting fired before that contract extension even kicks in. I thought it was a crazy, terrible extension to do at the time. It looks even worse now. He and Kyler Murray are not vibing. That one is interesting to watch for the train wreck quality. Sunday Night Football, Los Angeles Chargers 5-3 at the 4-4 San Francisco 49ers. Both those teams are looking good. Both of them have playoff aspirations. Both of them have dealt with some injuries and inconsistencies. Christian McCaffrey going to be back out there. The Chargers are just praying they actually get a professional wide receiver that's available to suit up for their team. My upset special for this week, this is the 1 week of the year where Ricky and I are both Denver Broncos fans. They're playing the Tennessee Titans, and I think they're coming off a bye, and we're going to see Danger Russ back in action. I'm taking the 3-5 Denver Broncos over the 5-3 Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. There's some interesting games this week. The most interesting game, obviously, was going to be the Vikings-Bills game because I really feel like, as crazy as it sounds, it could have been a potential Super Bowl preview. You know what I mean? It's crazy as it sounds. You know what I mean? I know it's still Kirk Cousins, and I know that factors in there, but
ever since Kirk Cousins took his shirt off and just started dancing topless with gold chains, I think we think about him in a different way.
We really do, but like some of these games, there's just a lot of rough games this week, just matchups that are just very confusing. And to be honest with you, the one that Chargers game really, really, really bothers me. The point spread of that game really bothers me a lot. That's a 7-point favorite against the Chargers. It's not like they're traveling very far either. You know what I mean? It's not like
I actually picked the Chargers.
Yeah, so it's very, very confusing there with that one. But
that's just the kind of game that Kyle Shanahan will go out and shit the bed on.
Man, no joke. It's a lot of, like I said, a lot of dog shit games. You got Saints and the Steelers. Like, who cares? I hope the Texans beat the Giants because the Giants, I hate them so much. Like, God, every week they win just makes me want to poke my eyes out. I hope the Lions beat the Bears because I'm tired of hearing about the Bears. You know what I mean? I don't know. I hate football season this year for some reason. I don't know what it is. But speaking of hating, actually I had a great week of betting last week. Even though we weren't on the show, I did share my bet. Oh, no, sorry. Start and sit. Whatever. We'll do that too. You take 1 week off and you forget that you forget how to do a show that you've done for like 2 years now. But as always, we are going to jump into our fantasy starts and sit. Where am I at on mine? I know I did pick out. Oh man, I did pick out one that's going to be interesting. We talked about it early on though. Like with this week, we could be missing some quarterbacks, so this isn't as surprising. But I am starting Tom Brady this week. You're talking about a team that has given up multiple touchdown passes. 10, actually, to be exact, I have the number because it's going to be something that I'll use in handy here in a little bit, but. The Seahawks have given up 10 touchdowns to QBs in 5 games on the road this year, obviously averaging 2 per game. But they're also giving up 21 or more points in each of those games. Brady hasn't hit the mark since, hasn't really been exactly on fire. You know what I mean? I think he's got 1 touchdown per game, and then there was one game he had 0 touchdowns. But he's got like 5 touchdowns in like the last 6 or 7 games. But I like for him to bounce back a little bit this week, but I like Tom Brady to start this week. Give me Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the running back position. I think this game's going to be a blowout of epic proportions, just because the Jaguars went from darlings to dead very fast. You know what I mean? Josh Palmer, wide receiver. I like him this week. He showed what he can do. I think he's somebody that should be more active in this offense, even with the 2 guys up top. I'm not sure how I feel about Zach Staley. Staley? Is it Staley? Right? I said that right? Staley? Zach Staley?
The coach? Brandon Staley.
Brandon Staley. Somebody Staley. Fuck, I don't know. Brandon Staley. I don't know how I feel about him. My feelings on him as being a head coach alter week by week. Tyler Higbee is my start of the tight end position this week. And the only reason why, I'm going to tell you why I'm starting this week. This is his week to have the random good game, and then you just put him back on the bench the week after that. So I have a bunch of crapshoots that I'm hoping, throwing a couple darts at the board and hoping something sticks. So what do you got, Fox?
My QB start of the week is Justin Fields. He was QB1 last week. He's really been picking it up. He's up to QB7 on the season. He's also playing the worst defense in the NFL this week. So you're welcome, Chicago fans. My running back start is Ken Walker III. Tampa Bay's defense had been great against the run last year, not so much this year. Walker has started the last 4 games, has 425 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns during that span. They want to run. He's ready to run. It's a marriage made in heaven. Wide receiver start is Chris Olave. He has great chemistry that he's built up with Andy Dalton. Michael Thomas is out. Jarvis Landry, we haven't seen him appear since early in the season. He's really carrying the game for New Orleans. They're playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it'll be a good game for them. And my tight end start is TJ Hawkinson. I was a little bit skeptical of that trade when it was made, but week one, half a week of practice, he got 9 targets, caught all 9 for 70 yards. He is the number 2 target there in Minnesota. They're very excited to have him. And I think it's going to be wheels up in what could be a higher scoring game with the Bills.
I like it. I like it a lot. My sits of the week are as follows. Trevor Lawrence. I don't love the matchup for him this week. Running back, I'm just going to put Najee Harris on this everywhere. I don't even care about anybody. Just Najee, just put him to the moon. I know there was rumors that they were going to work Warren in a little bit more, but Warren came out and debunked that rumor, saying that he's getting the normal reps that he always gets while he's playing for the team. And then I'm just to sit all my Colts players moving forward, unless you're named Jonathan Taylor, obviously. But I'm not starting a Colts player outside. And Jonathan Taylor is even scary because he could really run into that scenario where they just shut him down and make Sam Ehlinger throw the football, which he doesn't know how to do. So,
well, now there's talk that Saturday might return Matt Ryan to the starting lineup, which will be interesting. It's the right reaction.
Is it an upgrade? I don't even know. You know what I mean? That's what it is. So who are your sits for the week? I don't do tight ends, but if you want me to throw tight end, let me sit.
Well, you said Witt. Sit all your Colts. So that's like
Jason Witt. We're sitting him this week.
My quarterback sit was the same as you, Trevor Lawrence. He had a good hot start to the season. He was like QB. Top 10 QB through the first 3 weeks, but he's been QB 16 since then, wildly inconsistent. I'm not rolling him out against the Chiefs. My running back sit is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The Chiefs running game had 3 running backs that combined for 12 carries and 14 yards last week. Jerick McKinnon is actually the guy that's getting more snaps. CEH is basically getting first and second down work and splitting that with Pacheco, and if they get up big on the Jaguars, that's an even worse sign for CEH, so I am staying away. My wide receiver sit is Michael Gallup. I was excited to have him come back. The Cowboys seemingly picked him over Amari Cooper this offseason, and that has not panned out. 12 receptions, 135 yards since coming back. It's not enough production for me to have him out there. And my tight end is Logan Thomas. We're still riding the high of 2 years ago when he was a real bankable asset at tight end. We didn't really see it a lot last year when he was banged up. He's been banged up this year, but also they just don't look for him. So he is not a tight end that I'm rolling.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see who wins the Clyde Edwards-Helaire battle this week. Probably you.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is running back 37 on the season.
But you know what? You're running back 38. Okay, how about that?
There you go.
I don't even know. Let's go to my bets of the week because I'm losing my mind today. That sound wasn't the sound of Matthew Fox and I's bank account going on vacation or anything like that. That was the sound of me trying to win some bets this week. Last week, I actually had a solid week. Like I said, if you follow on Twitter, we shared some bets. I went 3-1 last week. The Chargers covered the 2.5 point spread. Scary, but they did it. The Vikings and the Ravens covered their first half money lines, which was key for me. And then, of course, for some reason, the Packers decided to lose to the Lions, scoring 9 whole points. Overall in the season, I am 23-15-1. Pretty solid if you ask me. But I've got 1, 2, 3 plays for you. Chris Clarkson and I will be going live Saturday morning. Some of the props that I want to look at aren't quite out yet with all these injuries. Some of the lines are shifting momentarily. The Vikings line is drastically down from like 7. The Bills were favored by 7 on like Monday, but now it's down to like 3.5 at all sports books. So once those lines, and of course, if Josh Allen is out, that probably goes down a little bit further than that. So it'll be interesting to see what those do. But I've got a fun one for you this week. I've got the Chiefs, Broncos, plus 6.5 teaser, which brings the line for the Chiefs game down to 3. They're favored by 9.5, so that brings it down to 3. And the Broncos, it brings it from plus 3.5 to or plus 3 all the way up to plus 9.5. You can get this at minus 120. It's a hell of a bet. I like the Broncos, just like Fox did. I like the Broncos a lot this week. I'm still teeter-tottering on the idea of just betting them outright or just betting them the plus 3, adding that to my betting book for the week. But right now, like I said, it's the plus 6.5 teaser. You throw the Chiefs in there plus 9.5. You throw the Broncos plus 3 in there, and then you tease it 6.5 points, and you get the Broncos at plus 9.5, the Chiefs at -3. Chiefs at -3 is a no-brainer against that Jaguars team anyway. So I mentioned him a little bit earlier. I brought up some stats earlier as well. Tom Brady over 1.5 touchdown passes. I can't believe we're in the year 2022 when we're talking about a guy whose line is only at 1.5. It's like -145 right now in DraftKings. Like I mentioned earlier, Seahawks have given up 10 touchdowns to quarterbacks in 5 games on the road, obviously averaging 2 a game. They're also giving up 21 or more points on the road to teams. And I think there's 2 games that they gave up over 30. Brady hasn't hit this mark since October 3rd, but I believe he will this week. Give me the Chargers. We talked about them a little bit earlier. They've covered the spread as underdogs in 5 of the last 6 games on the road. This game has no reason to be 7-point favorites. The 49ers have not done anything to be 7-point favorites, especially against probably a better team. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think the Chargers might win this game. I really do. I think they can. If they can get one of the receivers, as Matthew Fox mentioned earlier, if they can get one receiver to hit this starting lineup this week, that'd be nice. But I do think that the return of Christian McCaffrey, and I think Debo comes back this week as well. It's going to be interesting to see how that works for a full week. But even with that being said, this Chargers team can get after the quarterback. Jimmy G can be easily flustered, and I think Eckler will be able to do a little bit on this defense. So give me the Chargers plus 7.5. Those are my 3 picks this week. Like I said, the 6.5-point teaser, Chiefs -3, Broncos plus 9.5, Tom Brady over 1.5 touchdown passes, and the Chargers plus 7.5. Fox, what do we think here, man? What do you think of my bets this week?
I liked them all, which is probably a bad sign for both of us.
Fuck, damn it. I'm going back to the drawing board. I might have some new picks for you by Saturday morning. It's crazy, though. It was looking at some of these lines, you know what I mean? I haven't had the most amount of time to really sit down and kind of look at these lines. That's why I'm a little light on picks, but Clarkson and I did that, but there's a lot of interesting ones that just are confusing.
There wasn't a lot of games where I felt great about taking upsets either.
Yeah, see the Broncos, that one looks pretty solid, and even that one's like
the only thing that breaks my heart about that is I feel like Denver's now tracking to somehow make a big second half run, finish 9-8, and save Nathaniel Hackett's job.
But yeah, so like I don't like the Browns at all this week. I don't think they're going to beat the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins win that game. The Texans isn't really a sexy pick to me. I think the Giants probably win that game. Maybe easily, which makes
the Texans also can't defend the run, and the only thing the Giants can do is run with Daniel Jones and have Saquon Barkley. So I think Saquon Barkley could be RB1 this week.
The Saints Steelers has
no appeal whatsoever.
Raiders.
If I watch 10 seconds of that game, it'll be too much.
Raiders Colts is an interesting game because I don't even know. And Cowboys would it surprise me if the Packers beat the Cowboys? No, but do I have any faith in it? No. Like it's just one of those things. You know what I mean? Like
it would surprise me because the Cowboys have a good secondary and an incredible pass rush, 2 things that the Packers simply can't hold up against.
Maybe the whole weekend will end with the Commanders randomly beating the Eagles on Monday night. That'd be pretty.
That would make me happy, actually.
It would make me happy too. Hard here from Eagles.
Dallas.
All right, folks. With that being said, if you tune in just for our weekly sports talk, it has come to a close. We are going to dive into our movie corner, but before you go, make sure to follow Matthew Fox on Twitter at Nighthawk7734. Give myself a follow at Ricky Valero _. Make sure to check out the Music City Drive-In for all of the articles, latest stuff that you can watch and read. With that being said, like a reminder, Saturday morning, Chris Clarkson and I will be going live talking our bets of the week with the Happy Hour Sports Betting Show. All right, Fox, it's time to talk movies, which is going to include our top 10 of the year through November. And then on top of that, we're going to talk about some new releases. Oh, all right. So, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I was actually out of town last week in LA for the American Film Institute Festival. It was my second year in the road, going to it and covering it. It's funny, Fox and I had talked during our Week 8 episode, and we were like, you know what? Let's wait until I get back from AFI and just some of the other releases that were coming out before we talk about our top 10 just based on the simple fact that there's a possibility that it's going to shift out whenever I go to LA and some of the releases that were coming out. And with that being said, I'm glad we decided to do that because in my top 10, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brand new entries that I saw while I was out in LA. But before we drop into those top 10 movies, we have quite a few releases for the weekend, highlighted by Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Fox, when are you seeing this? I need to know.
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow? Okay. All right. I wasn't sure when, but just based on the...
We're taking the kids.
Perfect. I was going to see what else is coming.
Not our kids, my 3 nephews. The boys are going with Lindsay and I. We're going at 11 a.m.
The documentary Is That Black Enough For You comes out. One of my, I really enjoyed this. One of my favorite docs of the year. Really, really strong documentary. It's a history lesson in cinema and Black cinema. So for those of you out there, I really highly recommend checking that out. And then, of course, we have Spirited, which Matthew Fox has already seen. I have not seen yet.
Yes, I'll do my full take in a minute, but also I have a review dropping. If you're listening to this on Friday, it will already be out. It's coming out Friday morning. It opens limited on Friday the 11th, goes wide in theaters and on Apple TV Plus on November 18th, and it is a Christmas delight.
Oh, so it's not coming out on Apple TV tomorrow?
No, it's coming out limited in theaters tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So I have to have a little time to watch it before it comes out and maybe review it. Got it. Thanks for reminding me of that. I had no clue. All right. So I'll let you talk about that in a minute because I know. Oh, and there's one more other thing that's dropping. It's called Mammals. It's going to be a show on Prime Video. Do not watch it. It's terrible. If you want to read my review,
you had me at James Corden.
Yeah. It's, what's crazy? What makes me really mad is the show is actually really well written. And if somebody else would have been in the lead, it probably would have been a great show.
The big show that releases tomorrow, though, is the one that Jenna reviewed that's on Amazon Prime, the English with Emily Blunt. So
it's kind of weird they dropped 2 shows at one time.
No, they probably saw Mammals and thought nobody was going to see it. Also, what is that title? Memories.
Remind me to tell you a story after we get off. I don't mean to say this on the air, but remind me to tell you a story about Mammals when we get off the air. But with that being said, yeah. So with that's everything. I think it's pretty much everything releasing. There's a few things that have come out. Obviously, we had Causeway come out. I'll talk about that in a little bit because it's in my top 10. But what did I watch, or I haven't watched? What did you think of Blockbuster? Did you care for that?
I did enjoy Blockbuster. I reviewed that with the pilot roundup on Tuesday. I give B- for the pilot in the second episode. We've watched 3 total. I think it has a good sitcom-y vibe. There is something ironic about a Netflix series touting the last Blockbuster, but they kind of steer into that with some on-the-nose dialogue in episode 1 that was fun. One that you saw at the festival that actually opened in theaters that I have subsequently seen is the documentary The Return of Tanya Tucker featuring Brandy Carlisle. I enjoyed that. Thought that was a kind of fun, feel-good film. There was another documentary that opened last week that I actually liked a little bit more that is it's, you know what, Apple TV, if you're out there, you still got a friend and a fan in me, because the 3 changes to my current top 10 are the 3 Apple TV Plus films that I've seen.
It's pretty crazy to me how like
It's my favorite streaming site.
It's Apple TV's really like groundbreaking when it comes to TV, right? They have really strong TV, but their movies over the last 12 months have really ramped up and being great. And I'll let you kick it off. Give me your 10 through 6 in that top 10 real quick.
So number 10 for me is still After Yang. I know you didn't love it. There's just something about the story and something about the redemption arc that I really liked. Colin Farrell's great in this. I like the opening dance sequence. It was just something different. Number 9, new entry, Spirited. I mentioned that it opens limited tomorrow. It is a delight. You've never seen A Christmas Carol told this way, and that is a good thing. It is a full-blown musical. Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell are a delight. Octavia Spencer is great. I laughed. I cried. I can't wait to watch it again. I think Will Ferrell may have yet another seasonal Christmas classic. Number 8 for me is The Woman King. I really love Viola Davis in that lead role. I thought that the story, the action, everything, that was a very stirring experience in the theater. Still hanging around here at number 7 is The Batman. I made fun of it for a long time, thought that I was going to hate it, and somehow, god darn it, it's still there. Maybe it'll knock out eventually. And number 6, still my favorite film that I saw among the Sundance films, Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. Another beautiful redemption arc. I love the performances in it. I love the story, the blend of comedy. Hopefully these are probably the 5 that are most vulnerable for sliding down as we get some of this glut of end of the year things, because there's a lot of things that you are going to reference that I haven't gotten to see yet. And obviously we always get to the end of the year and so many big things pile in, but you know what? That's where I'm at right now.
Are you guys going to put the game? I don't know what that means. What game? I don't know. Maybe rephrase that.
We might be jinxing the game.
Probably. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to give. So what makes me really, there was in the process of seeing so many new films, you start to, like, for the first 9 months of the year, there was a lot of the same in my top 10. And now that I've seen more and more, and obviously I saw, I think 7 or 8 films at AFI, and when I was going through my list, it's like movies that I really, really like are starting to take the tumble, and it starts to hurt. The Woman King coming off my top 10 broke my heart. Honk for Jesus coming out of my top 10 really broke my heart. Fresh coming out of my top 10 really broke my heart. Top Gun dropping out of my top 10 really broke my heart. But speaking of number 10, I've got The Good Nurse. This is probably the most vulnerable film of the top tier right now. I really liked it. I really liked Eddie Redmayne's performance in this. I thought he was very captivating in this role. Number 9, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. If anybody that knows anything about me knows that I hate animated movies, but Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is really, really, really good. It's crazy because it's at number 9, and if it wasn't for so many other films, it'd probably be a little bit higher. Number 8 is Causeway. It's a movie that I know Matthew Fox will talk a little bit more about later. Jennifer Lawrence and Brian Tyree Henry give 2 incredible performances. It's one of the most subtle, in-your-face movies of the year, and it's beautifully directed and beautifully written that it's a gut punch of a film in the most subtle way, and it's beautiful. I love it. Decision to Leave is number 7. Another film that I really liked. One of the most unique love stories I think I've ever seen. I really enjoyed it. And number 6 is a movie that was number 1 since June. And it held the title at number 1 for June, July, August, September, October. 5 months. Coming in at number 6 is Elvis. Please don't tell Austin Butler that I am saying this live on the air. So, yeah. Top 5.
Yep. So number 5 for me, one of the newer films I saw last weekend, Selena Gomez, My Mind and Me. It's a documentary. Mental health is probably the biggest issue that we deal with as a country right now. I have never seen a performer lay themselves bare the way that she does in this film. You follow her over the course of 5 years. She's brutally open and honest, including reading diary entries, seeing her sometimes at her worst, seeing times when she's enjoying incredible professional success and feels just completely, empty inside. That was a terrible slip. I actually, I've given 5 movies now 4.5 stars this year. Nothing have I given 5 yet from this year, and this is the first of those 4.5 star movies. I really love her on Only Murders in the Building, but I didn't know that much about her or really her music until seeing this, and it was I was just on the cruise watching this, sitting out there looking out at the open ocean as we were floating, and it was just a beautiful experience. I thought it was a beautiful film. Number 4 for me, still Vengeance, BJ Novak's film. Has so many deep, rich themes. Ashton Kutcher, I actually think he should be in the best supporting actor conversation, even though he's only in 2 scenes in this film, but they are incredible. It's unlike anything I've ever seen him do. And it just pulled me in. Still number 3 for me, Top Gun Maverick. I love the emotion. I loved the production of that film. I loved what it did. It was my favorite film of the summer, and it's still hanging in there. I think probably at this point in time, it's going to remain up in my top 10, since I didn't feel that strongly about Elvis as you. Number 2 for me, you mentioned this film, Causeway. This was another one that I watched, on the balcony on my cruise, staring out the ocean. Jennifer Lawrence, Brian Tyree Henry were mesmerizing. The story of their characters. These are 2 hurt individuals looking for longing, looking for redemption, that find each other. There are some very powerful scenes in this, so that's up there. And then still at number 1 for me, Everything Everywhere All at Once. One of the most creative visual films I think I've ever seen in my entire life. I also loved the emotion and the core. Redemption arcs are big for me, and I think that's probably, I was telling you earlier today, that's probably the through line for me with a lot of these films that are in my top 10 are about purpose and redemption.
My top 5 films. I'm still, the crazy thing about it is I'm still not 100% sold on where I have 2, 3, 4, and 5, like where they're at. Woman Talking comes in at number 5. One of the hardest films you will watch this year. You know what I mean? It's brutal. And the one thing that She Said is number 4. She Said obviously is the story about the takedown of Harvey Weinstein that kind of led to the Me Too movement. Both of these films do something that you rarely see within these style of films, and that's you never really see what happens, right? You know what I mean? You never see visually, but they paint the picture in a way that you can see it in your head, but you're not seeing it visually. Especially like Woman Talking. These women are being abused, they're being raped, all the way down to young ages of 4, 5, and 6 years old. And these women are trying to figure out a way how to get out of this scenario. And you don't really ever see the violence 100% take place. And it was interesting how they did that, but at the same time, it made you engulfed into this story a little bit more, and you see the results of what happened, but you don't with bruises and marks on their faces and stuff like that. It just was truly remarkable to watch. She Said also, you have some of the best performances of the year within those 2 films. Tar is my number 3 right now. Kate Blanchett, still, her performance was just out of this world. I like that film a lot. It sat with me a lot. It's crazy because I feel like Tar might move to 5. She Said, A Woman Talking might move up a little bit. The next one we'll talk about is Bardo, a movie that I had 0 expectations for. Like, actually, there's expectations here, and I was like under the ground of expectations. Alejandro, I'm not a huge fan of his work. I don't think that I haven't loved his film. He's technically one of the best directors. His films are always technically sound. I just never really loved his films, but this film spoke to me, and in a way that I didn't expect it to. It's one of those things that I think that you touch on, like that's an important piece of film, right? It has to touch you. You know what I mean? Like it has to make you feel things. And Daniel Jimenez Cacho, who plays Silverio in this film, it touched me. You know what I mean? Like the story, the arc, the writing. It's a film that a lot of people aren't going to like, but it's just because maybe you don't emotionally resonate with this character in the same way that I did. I know a lot of people that rated it 2 stars, 2.5, 3 stars, and there's going to be a lot of people that do that. But for me personally, this film is something that hit me so hard and so deep, and I was blown away by it, and that's just, I love the film so much. And speaking of a film, I've seen I don't know, probably close to 300 2022 releases, probably over that, TV shows, all that, everything together. You know what I mean? And Bones and All is my number one movie of the year. It's the first film that I walked in and walked out and couldn't think of one problem with the film. It's a movie that I 100% expect my podcast partner here to my left or right, whatever you want to see, however you see him, or you just listening, I probably expect him not to like it, but I also felt the same way about Batman. So maybe we could be wrong. You know what I mean? It could be wrong. Maybe he will like it. But my podcast partner is also like me in saying that I am not a Timothée Chalamet fan. Never really have been. And I was really blown away by his performance in this. But Taylor Russell really shines the brightest throughout this entire film. But Mark Rylance gives a downright scary fucking performance in this movie. Downright scary performance. Like, it is creepy. Mark Rylance is a hell of an actor, right? You know what I mean? He is a hell of an actor. He shouldn't have that Oscar that he has for that specific movie, but he's a hell of an actor. And Bones and All, I loved it. I loved everything about it from start to finish. I was engulfed. I can't wait to see it again. I can't wait to see it 20 more times. It's a, you know, it's an interesting film to say that about, but something about kind of that being on the run, trying to figure out life and being weird and looking and yearning for support and love. And it's a coming of age story like I've never seen before. And I loved it. So Bones and All is my number one. And yeah, there's only one movie that I could see supplanting it for the end of the year, and that's Babylon. But we'll see. The jury's going to be out for that one, even though it's only over 3 hours long, and I hate long movies, but Damien Chazelle can do no wrong. So we'll just throw that out there too. But that is probably it for this week's show. Next week we'll be back again. I'm excited I'm going to see Knives Out, Glass Onion next week. Very excited to see that Wednesday. Very excited to see that. Was a big fan of the first one. So looking forward to seeing what Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig have.
No one's a bigger fan of the first one than me. So
I'm excited, which, like, the thing about it is if it's done right, it's something that we could get every couple of years and it would be pretty cool. But I just feel like it's going to be kind of hard to capture the magic of the first one. You know what I mean? But
I'm on the fence. I wish they weren't making a sequel.
It's like a middle of both of those things. It's like, it reminds me a little bit of White Lotus a little bit too, which I love that show, and a lot of people
I can't wait to see a Glass Onion, but I also wish they weren't making a sequel.
Yeah, it's
full of contradictions.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things, especially whenever it's one of your favorite movies or something that you love so passionately. A sequel coming in is definitely one of those things that's, rough. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, Sorry. With that being said, we are out for the week. We'll be back next week. Like I said, make sure to tune in on Saturday. Clarkson and I will be podcasting about our picks. Make sure to check out Fox's articles over on the website, especially a Spirited review. I haven't read it yet. It's going to be out by the time this is out, but I want to see it first. I'm probably watching it later tonight. Until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.